Hello.
And welcome to makers.dev. How's it going?
I think that'll work.
All right, cool.
We're trying something because as many of you have noticed, my audio is low for the first several seconds, and it's because I talk second, we think, and it's averaging a lot of silence. And so we're gonna try to both sort of talk at the beginning. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're not gonna fix it by I'm not going to fix it by at the beginning to it. No, we're just gonna see what the least amount of work we can do is, and if it fixes it. I forgot to say it's episode number 92. I don't have a fun fact about 92 because I am so excited to finally talk about something that I've had to keep secret and not talk about for so long. Chris, you got a job with Google. I need to know all about it.
I did. Yes, I got a job with Google. It is official. Everything is signed. I have not started yet, so technically I guess things can go wrong. But yes, everything is signed. My background check is done. Everything's moving. Yeah.
Tell me all about this. What's the job? Why? I've been able to see this journey for months now.
Yep.
Please tell me what was the impetus to get a job? This is a big life transition. This may put our co-working in a different position. What? Walk me through it from the beginning of the first inklings of that you might want a job. What was going on?
Sure, yeah. So I'll start with what the job is real quick. So it is developer relations for Google Photos, or developer relations engineer for Google Photos, which sounds a little odd given some of the stuff I'm interested in. Developer relations, I think, fits. But so I'll start from the beginning. I think it started sort of like in MicroConf, actually. I got really excited, and then about acornchat, right? And then after MicroConf, I just felt really listless. It was very different than before. And I noticed the same feelings in myself that I had noticed once before in my life, which is right before I quit my other job, 6 or 7 years ago, to do something different. And so I pretty much knew that I needed to do something different, but didn't know quite what. And that's when I started sort of looking at things, looking at jobs and stuff like that. And you could probably hear that if you go back into our podcast recordings, you can sort of hear that. And then at some point, so I've been doing a lot of Kaggle, right? And at some point I saw a job opening for Kaggle community manager, which is a developer relations position. And I thought that sounded super cool. It is some coding, but not a bunch of coding. And it's a lot of interacting with Kaggle people and a lot of stuff like that. And Kaggle is owned by Google. So I would be a Google employee if I got that. So that was really cool. So I applied for that. I went through several interviews. A phone screen, hiring manager interview, a virtual on-site interview panel. And then, as we can talk about, hiring got a little squirrely and their headcount shifted, and then the position just didn't exist anymore, or at least not for now. And so I've gone through this entire Google interview process, and now the position didn't exist. And we're already 2 months in at this point, or a month and a half in. But because I went through the interview process and did pretty well, I got to do what they call team matching, which is I get to meet other hiring managers hiring for the same role. So in this case, it was developer relations engineer. And I met with, I think three teams. Google Photos was a good match with my skill set and what they needed. And so that's what happened. You'll notice a 2-month gap in there. That's because of a hiring freeze, which we can talk about too. But that is how everything happened. Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm very excited for you. I have so many jumping off boards and things to talk about. I think my first question is, where does that leave us with acornchat? You mentioned you've been feeling listless. Is this something that you want to continue doing? Is this something you want to shut down? Is it something you want to maybe sell? Do you want to keep doing it on the side? Maybe will this become more enticing to work on when you have a full-time job? And how are you currently framing that?
Yeah, so I was worried because I didn't know Google's policies about working on things. It turns out they let you have side projects, and even you can be employed separately as well. But there are a few big caveats, and one of them is it can't compete with any Google product or any current or future research and development, basically.
Okay.
So I need to be a little careful what I work on. So I actually don't know exactly the status of it until I probably get with my hiring manager and make sure I can work on it. But as long as I can, I plan to keep it as a side project. I know that when I have something important to do, like consulting, or in this case, a job, I want to work on other things like side projects and other projects. And so I could definitely see that as my sort of my creative outlet outside of my job. And that's what I want it to be. And I suspect that as soon as I start a job, I will have a desire for a creative outlet like that. Yeah. And so that's my current plan, but I need to like make sure I can actually work on it, and not get into IP trouble, basically.
That makes sense. Okay, next question. What are you planning to do with all that freaking money?
Having a job is nice, man.
For real? Oh man,
it pays you, and that's great.
Regularly,
I do live in India.
on a schedule.
That's right. You may have heard of some stories about Google salaries. They can get really high. I do live in Indiana, and so it's actually quite a bit lower than it would be if I was like in Seattle or the Bay Area or New York. But it's still really nice. Like it's a solid job. So
there are a few interesting things that we talked about on salary. I think the first is what you're talking about now, that it's salaries based on there's cost of living, and then there's some other term, and they use the other term.
It's based on cost of labor in your market.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, which is so an engineer in Indianapolis and an engineer in, say, Seattle. What is the pay difference for doing the exact same job? And that's how they determine it. Yeah, because cost of living difference, I think I looked this up, like having a similar house in Indianapolis or having a 3-bedroom house in Indianapolis requires like $40K a year in income, and in the Bay Area is like $400K. And so cost of living is like times 10.
That's much better for you then, that it's cost of labor instead of cost of living.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
It is. Yep. Yeah.
That doesn't feel fair if it's cost of living, because it's like, how expensive is your lifestyle as opposed to like how good are you at doing work? Yeah,
right. Which is why they do cost of labor. Yeah.
That makes sense. And then another interesting thing about this is you said that compensation at Google is split into 3 different categories, plus an optional signing bonus. Can you talk about those 3 categories?
Yeah, so this is at all the FAANGs except for Netflix. Netflix is different, but all the others, they have a base salary, and that's the regular salary, paid every 2 weeks, whatever. Then they have equity, which is significant and given in stock, which is vested. So you get a certain amount, but it's vested over 4 years, and each company does it a little differently. So it might be like 25, 25, 25, 25. Google is front loading it a little now, so it's like 33, 33, 22, 11. These are percentages per year. Amazon
and I'm sorry, this is the percentage of equity that you get. So if you leave after a year at Google, you get 33% of the total amount of equity that
correct.
You've
Yeah.
gotten. Okay.
And the good thing is it vests monthly, so it's not like I get it all after a year. I get some every month. But after 12 months, I will get 33%.
Gotcha.
Amazon is flipped, actually. It's like 5, 11, 30, 40 or something like that.
I would think that's what you would want to do as a company, because you're trying to incentivize people to stay longer, no?
Yeah, so it's very interesting incentive structures. Google, by doing it the other way, so Amazon, because they do that, they have to give a lot of cash up front, whereas Google gives a lot of stock up front, and the total compensation numbers look higher because the stock is front loaded. So yeah, it's very interesting. Netflix just gives cash, so yeah.
Just full cash, no equity.
Just full cash, yeah.
Okay, and then I guess you can buy the stock if you want. I guess I like that the best if I had to choose.
It's pretty nice. It'd be pretty nice to get full cash. Yeah. And then the last part is a bonus. So you have an expected bonus, and it's like 95% of Google employees will get a standard bonus. 5% might need improvement or whatever. Like that's, I think, their targets, something like that. So. Yeah, and this is all, by the way, public knowledge. I'm not giving away anything, any private information or anything. You can look all this up. Yep.
Yes, I was impressed with the amount of research that you were doing, like researching the questions they might ask in the different stages of the interviews, and researching like the types of things that you can negotiate when you're doing your salary. I think you played that game very well.
Yeah, definitely read negotiation advice. If you're going after big companies, they will negotiate, and so you should. Yeah.
Cool. You read Patrick McKenzie's article on how to argue for a higher salary. Was there anything else that you read that you would recommend?
I just I watched a lot of YouTube videos, of course. There's a lot of good ones. It's interesting, though. There is a lot of conflicting information, so you kind of have to listen to everyone's reasons and then sort of pick and choose what works for you. Like one I can think of is about half the people I found say only negotiate on the phone, and the other half the people said never negotiate on the phone. And so I think it probably doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether you do email or phone, for example. So stuff like that. You kind of have to. I think the best advice is just to negotiate. And also, like the Patio 11 article is basically like the calculus for you and the calculus for the company are totally different. Like the company does not care. I mean, at some point they do, but they do not care if you get an extra $5,000 a year. Whereas, for you, that's like a big, might be a huge deal. So, yep.
I think the other sage piece of wisdom that you said during this process was something along the lines of like, the best advice is to get a lot of advice, and then which like the process you went through with this, I think is a pretty good generic case study in just learning stuff. You spread your net far and wide and read books and articles and YouTube videos and things about how to negotiate better, and then saw what the common advice was between all those things, then use that as your main strategy, and you got a job at a salary that I think you're very happy with in all three parts of the compensation. It's very exciting. When is your start date?
2 weeks from today, October 17th. Is that 2 weeks from today? 2 weeks from yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm excited to start talking about some secret Google stuff on this podcast. Just tune in for some trade secrets.
Get me in trouble and fired first day.
That's right.
Yep.
What you don't know is that I'm getting compensated by Facebook.
Right.
Cool. Neat. Congratulations again. That's a huge update. I feel like if we had been talking about this all during the process, like every beat in the story would have been a whole episode, but I feel like it's a pretty good summation. Anything else and other things we should cover in this major life development?
I don't know. I do feel kind of lucky because, so I mentioned a two-month hiring freeze. I had a team match before that, and my team was prioritized, which is what, or my position was, but they, across the board, got rid of like half the open positions or something like that. Also, Meta just announced a hiring freeze, and they're going to do performance improvement. And I just saw just before this podcast, they're starting to rescind intern offers. So there's quite a big downturn, at least in like Meta and some other companies, and enough that Google put a hiring freeze on for a while. So I feel good to have secured a job before things freeze over for the next several months.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And that you got hired basically in the middle of a hiring freeze. That's I think you'll be seen as a very valued employee, like that they needed you that badly that they're hiring you effectively during a freeze. Very cool. That's a huge life update. Oh, let's talk about the Google Ads, although we don't quite know where acornchat is, but like that was still a project. How are the Google Ads for acornchat going?
Yeah, so last time I realized that having anything with chat in the name is very bad for ads because you get lots of like random stranger chat and chat with girls USA and stuff like that. So I did a lot of negative keywords. I did pruning of like my search terms and all that stuff. I got it down to what I think are only basically good impressions. So high intent impressions for live chat, like Slack widget, software. But that means I get something like 2 clicks a day now, or plus or minus, which is way less traffic than I thought it was going to be. I think because all the rest of the numbers, had these other chat thing. Like it's hard to separate when you're just looking at search numbers. Yeah. So I guess I'll leave it running at 2 clicks a day. It's like $1 per click or something. But it's going to take a while before I haven't seen, I don't think anyone do a trial from a Google ad. So we'll see. I'll let it run for a while, but yeah, I did not have the success that you had, which you can talk about.
Which was mixed success, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, okay. This is a good transition. So I, on one of my marketing days, bought a Google ad for this file sending feature. And I knew file sending had a lot more traffic than file receiving. That's part of why I built the feature. Oh, a little backstory. I can't remember if I said this, but no, I did. Yeah, WeTransfer was down, and so I built this thing in a day. On Sarah's suggestion. She was like, hey, WeTransfer, this, you got to push this forward. I was like, yes, okay. So I did that. And while I was building it, I was like, oh man, how great would it be if I had a Google ad right now that was, matching for phrases like WeTransfer down or WeTransfer alternative. Like this would just be killing it. So I wasn't able to get the ad out that day, and but I still wanted to try it out and see, what I could, it's still, sending files is still a very high volume set of keywords. So I bought a Google ad, and it was getting approved, and I was able to do it much better with their new interface because I just done it for you. And the next day, I look at my traffic, my analytics for Firebase, and I saw that I had like 5 people currently on the site. And I was like, what? And I look, and over the previous day, I had something like 800 people that had gone through and clicked on the ad. And I was like, oh no, I'm spending way too much money. I must have misconfigured something. And I go to look at the Google ad, and I'm spending 4 to 6 cents per click. And I'm like, oh, hold on, what's going on? and the numbers just looked magical. And I was thinking like, okay, this isn't quite a smooth sales funnel. Like, this is just a feature, and then I have 2 buttons on the page for receiving files, and that links to my old Rails app. But like, okay, this is something I can work with. And I love working with traffic so much more than I do just like building stuff for fun, because when people are actually using this feature, I was able to see, oh, hold on, I've made this too slick. Like, people don't know that they have to stay on the page and wait until their file's uploaded. And I'm still having that error, but I was able to introduce, like, there's a way to pop up a notice when someone tries to close the window if you still have an active data transfer going. So I did that. I can't customize the message, which makes sense, because otherwise people could say a message that's like, don't close this window or else you'll get a virus or something. So I did that, and I was able to like prioritize, okay, I had, 20 people have this particular error. Why is that happening? Oh, okay. And made like the usability of it much more straightforward. Was able to see, oh man, there were some bugs that I fixed that were kind of fun, of like legacy browsers that are a couple of years old that aren't using the new API, but I was able to just like switch the way I was doing something, and everything worked exactly the same, but it now works on, 99% of browsers instead of like 95. So that was fun, and I'd like to continue doing that and just make sure that process is like as slick as possible. So since I started running the ad, I guess it's been like a week. Yeah, it's been a week. I've had 3.4 thousand clicks. I guess I could have said 3,500. 3.4 thousand. Yeah. And with an average cost per click of 3 cents. Google Analytics says that I've had 3.7 thousand users in the last 7 days, and 21 in just the last 30 minutes. And that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So here's the not exciting part.
Yeah.
That I like, but like, it's something to be worked with, right? like I can do something with this. The majority of traffic is from India and Pakistan. And I don't know what to do with that information, but I think this is the tactic. I think probably the reason why these clicks are so cheap is that no one else is advertising to India. And I don't know a lot about India. I think like that average income is less, but like people in India still have credit cards. And same with like Pakistan, also Nigeria, Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Burma, Albania, like not countries I would have thought of like people that I want to sell to for the primary product. And looking at like who actually converted into paying users, not that impressive. Over the last week, what is it? Where are the numbers? I've had 3 new customers in something like the last since the 25th. Okay, so yeah, since this has been running, I've had 3 new customers, which
3 paying customers, right?
Paying customers, like people who converted to actually be paying me on the cheapest plan of $29 a month. So, and I think I have the data, and I think I can connect it. I don't know if they would have come from the ad, but like at this point, it's kind of an optimization game of like, okay, let me track like, for the paying customers, where did they come from? And I had a whole bunch of signups, which is really interesting. Signups might have gone up, but like I don't quite have a handle on this data yet. What I would love to be able to tell you is like the number of new users that I had sign up for receiving files that came from the ad. And then the conversion rate of people who came from the ad versus like my standard regular conversion rate. And I think I have all the data. I just need to be able to like connect it and tell you like, okay, for sure, I paid this much. I think I've paid something like $80 in Google ads over the last week. That turned into, for sure, these 2 customers that I got this last week are not customers I would have got if not for the Google ad. So let me spend twice as much and see what happens. Alternatively, I might say like, I got 1 customer and it was a US based customer, and I've had this much traffic from India, and it's 20 times what my usual traffic is, and that converted at a predictable rate to paid people, to users, to signups, but then none of them converted to paying customers. And then there's several things I can do with that too, right? Like I could potentially have regional pricing. If that's an issue with pricing, I could potentially do like more localization. Maybe I do the Indian version of FileInbox and have like a version of it in Hindi and oh gosh, they speak another language in India and I'm drawing a blank. I don't know. Do you know?
I know Hindi. I don't know the other one.
Okay. There's another one that's.
I think there's many regional languages.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's where I currently am. I have traffic, and traffic's exciting, but it's not quite the traffic I was expecting. I love how cheap the traffic is. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
But now it's like I'm playing the game I've been wanting to play for a really long time of like, okay, how do I adjust these numbers? How do I figure out what to focus on to be able to convert the right sort of traffic into the right sort of user? And in the back of my mind with all this is this adage of like, as a bootstrapper, you don't want to be running a company where it's a very horizontal product where it's just a whole bunch of people using it because now customer support's higher, but I have rates on that for customer support. And like infrastructure's higher and you have to be worrying about servers going down, but I have Firebase that can deal with infrastructure and scaling and all that. So yeah, that's where I am right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that's all super interesting. I think the next marketing day you have gets to be a coding day, which is great. But the coding is, figure out the pipeline so that you can track exactly where people come from and when they sign up. So you need to know if you have the data, and if not, then you need to be recording the data to figure out they clicked on this ad, they viewed these pages, they signed up, they waited 10 days and then they paid or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you can start playing the game for exactly all the reasons you talked about. So that's cool. The other thing that I thought of when you were talking about this is it's not even if no one signs up, say from India, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're getting lots of traffic, then Google starts seeing you as a site that gets a lot of traffic, and I think that boosts your ratings, but I could be wrong. I don't know how SEO works. So it may actually not be a terrible thing if you get a lot of cheap traffic that still doesn't convert. But I would talk to an SEO expert for that. That's not me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's exciting and very different from my experience with Google Ads, which is hilarious.
Yeah, like the first day when I woke up and was like, oh my God, there's like people actually using this. And it's like, and then I looked in the database and like, there are people using it. Like people are uploading files and they're doing it. That was a rush I haven't felt in a long time. That was really fun. So, if nothing else, I feel like I've finally connected with, I have some traction, right? Like I spent some money and I got traffic, and that traffic is turning into people using it. And like my funnel isn't perfectly slick, but I already knew that. And the way that I'm making money from this funnel is like the same way that I've been making money with FileInbox for the last 7 years. And that feels very clunky, and like that onboarding process I think can be drastically improved. And there's things I can point to now of like, okay, this I feel like I have a much more tangible sense of how to grow this as a company. And that feels very exciting. So that was marketing experiment number 1. And then after that success, I was like, oh, I'm looking for more US-based customers. What if I get a promoted tweet? What if I tweet about this thing? And so I made a little video of me demoing the product, and I gave Twitter $30 to try to optimize for clicks. And I said, what can you do? And Twitter said, not very much. I'm sorry. I paid $30. I got 1 paid click. I had 5 total clicks from the tweet that like clicked through to the link, and only 1 person from Twitter. And this is also data that I'm tracking. So here what I need to be able to tell you is like, this is how many paid customers it turned into, or this is how many signs it turned into. Because what if that 1 person who clicked through from the paid tweet turned into a paying customer, and that was the 1 person of my 3 new customers from this last week? I really need a handle on that data to be able to confidently go forward. But intuitively, it seems like probably not. The numbers were just like drastically lower for about the same amount of cash. And part of that might be that like, that was targeting more US customers, I think. I actually don't know. I don't know who Twitter would have been advertising to. My followers certainly are probably mostly based in the US.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 ways to set up a Twitter ad. So it all depends on how you set it up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I'm very good at.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So if we're going by the book traction and what they recommend, the first half is setting up the channel, but the second half is you got to measure it so that you know how it's doing. So yeah, I think you've done great on the first half. Now you got to do the second part.
Yes, I need to be able to tell you confidently, like, this is how much money I put in. What the things from traction were, I need to be able to tell you what my cost per customer is, how much money I have to put into the system to get a customer back, and I need to tell you how many customers are available on that channel. Although I don't know that matters so much at my stage. Like, I'll get customers from anywhere. I think that's mostly for, like, when you're at a certain stage of growth, you don't want to waste your time with smaller marketing channels. And I guess that's it. I just need to tell you my customer acquisition cost from each of these channels.
And then the other thing is, once you have that information, so Twitter, it didn't work great the first time, or maybe it did. You don't know, because you don't know if that person turned into a customer.
Yeah.
But every channel is going to be very different in terms of how they respond to certain types of ads. Ads on Twitter, I think, especially lately, have to be very engageable. So it can't just be like an ad. It has to be something where it's going to actually catch someone's attention in their feed, and they're actually going to do something about it. So this is probably where more like the like education as marketing stuff comes in, where like if you have some interesting data or interesting something interesting to teach people who happen to also might need file receiving or sending. I think that's where you'll get more clicks. If it just looks like an ad, people just scroll past it.
I like that. Does anything come to mind of an educational tweet I could give about file sending?
So the thing I told you, which I still think is a good idea, but I don't know what you do for it, is that one dating site who every year released like anonymized data about different dating things. Cupid. So if you have some anonymized like file sending information that's interesting, I have no idea what that would be, but some kind of report about that, or if you can come up with any sort of interesting fact that you've learned because are doing file sending. That's I'm trying to think. I can't, but maybe you have something. I don't know.
I learned some interesting technical things about like the APIs for file uploads the browser support, but I don't know that that's like overlapping with the market of people trying to send files.
No, that's more. I see that as more like just an organic tweet that you can do from your account.
Yeah.
People might like it because of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, I'll be thinking about it.
I'm also not good at this. You should probably find a marketing person who you can talk to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. To summarize, I'm enjoying that I'm like actually playing the game of marketing now, and like I am getting traffic, and I have a reason to see the data of I at this moment should be able to calculate my customer acquisition cost from the Google Ads channel, specifically like going through this sending files feature. And then I have a lot of low-hanging fruit, I think, in improving the sales funnel. Oh, that's another thing I was going to ask you about, is like I had so many people trying to send files, and I think it would be a much easier sales process to, instead of saying like pay me $30 a month to receive files, I could be saying to the people uploading the files, wouldn't you like to do these other things that you can do with uploading files for $5 a month or for $20 total? And I feel an aversion to doing that because that's like not the bootstrapper thing to do, right? But that feels enticing right now. What are your thoughts on that?
My first thought was don't do it.
Okay.
But it might be a good idea for certain things. You have talked about some of the features you might offer to file sending, and some I think are great. So like read receipts or download receipts, custom download pages, especially for like agencies, maybe commenting on files. I think that was part of it. Being able to change, like upload a new version and see version history, stuff like that is great for like agency type things, which would be business to business. I mean, I wouldn't start less than $29 a month for that, or whatever, 19, whatever your lowest plan is for receiving. Are there things that consumers might want to do for $5 a month that you could offer, and then like as an upsell have the agency plan? Maybe. I guess what I would do is get tracking in place. I think when you brought this up during co-working, I think I told you to finish your Rails to Firebase transition first.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's still weighing you down, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
And that's not marketing, and that's not getting you more customers, but it's something that I think you're really working on. And once that happens, that removes a lot of excuses and a lot of weight off your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I would write down all the things that you want to add to file sending, and then if there is a subset of those features that people might pay $5 a month for, sure, try it for a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe it turns out you get really bad customers from that, like who have a lot of support requests, and then you just turn it off, right? Or maybe it opens up a whole new growth model for you. I'm not sure. Does that help? I feel like I said I don't know.
It's clarifying that I think there's work that I should definitely do before. Well, does that quite make sense? No, yeah. Just for like clarity of thought and for being able to focus, I think I do need to finish the Rails to serverless transition before turning just sending into a product. That does feel like something I need to do. Because once that's done, now I can be like bundling file sending and file receiving features into one thing. So I could say, okay, I have a $30 a month plan, and that includes these things that you could get before on the file receiving stuff, and it includes these features on file sending. And talking with Sarah about this has been very clarifying, because she is consulting for an agency that like is doing the things that I would want an agency to be doing with this, and like she would want to be using things like read receipts and version control and being able to send and receive files on the same page, so that there can be like this back and forth. So yeah, I think I do want to finish the serverless transition, and then I can start thinking more about like developing new products within the serverless thing. Right now, it does feel very clunky that the way that I'm making money from the file sending is that there's a link to the legacy Rails app, and they have to go through that clunky thing, and it's kind of jarring to be like the product that you use at the end of that is not the product that you just used to send the files. And
right.
Although people might not be able to tell the difference, but I can. I know that it's a different backend. That's not okay. So okay. Development, laser focus on the serverless transition, and then on marketing time, laser focus on being able to calculate the CPC, and not cost per click, customer acquisition cost, CAC. Okay. Be able to calculate like, and I would also want to know costs per sign up, because signing up I think is pretty straightforward if they sign up on the Rails app, and that feels like it might be more promising. So if I can see like, oh man, if I spend 50 cents on Google Ads, for sure I can get a user of someone who wants to send a file, and they're signing up and they're trying to sign up to be able to receive files. What if I could make $5 a month on those people? Is that something? Do I want to play the game of making, charging them $5 a month for people that I'm paying 50 cents for? That's potentially something I would want to do all day. Or at least experiment with, right? Like I want to try that out, and then maybe I figure out like, oh man, the support burden on this is just not worth it. But maybe that's fine. Maybe it's like, I have more people emailing me, but Rachel's handling those, and I'm paying Rachel a fixed cost, so like it doesn't really matter. Or maybe I just start paying her more to be doing it for more time. And my main resistance to that would have been like, oh man, I have to like maintain 10 times more servers. But if Firebase is doing that for me, then I don't think I really care, right? So
right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm having fun. This can you tell I'm having fun?
Yeah.
I like having traffic. There's like, so I can work with something here.
It was great.
That's my main takeaway.
It was great during co-working to see your eyes light up with like, I got how many people visit yesterday? it was
There's
really,
too many zeros on that. That doesn't make sense. Yeah,
that's right. You see the graph go up, and it's fun.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would caution against is if you're getting a lot of traffic now, the likelihood that you got on some bot list is high. So make sure you have some kind of honeypot or bot detector on your sign up to make sure if you're getting a bunch of signups that they're actually not bots.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I can send you the code I used if you want.
Did you just do the like the Google? Oh yeah. Okay.
So I didn't. You could use reCAPTCHA. That's possible. I didn't. I just used a honeypot. So I used two different ones. One was a CSS based one and one was a JavaScript based one. And as far as I can tell, it has been catching 100% of bots. I mean, I wouldn't know if it wasn't, I guess, but yeah.
Deleted. It did smell kind of funny, the names that people put in for...
If the names don't match the email, so if it's like George and then the name is like Timothy at gmail.com or something, those are all bots.
Interesting. Thank you.
We should probably blur that in the... Yeah.
Oops. I'll edit that out. Thank you. Thank you for...
That actually sounds like kind of a real person, based on my experience with bots.
I just said a real person's name.
Yeah, okay. Bots are much more obvious than that. Yeah, in my experience.
I'm not going to say the full email address this time. This person's name is Guido, and then their email is Guido at a domain name I've never heard of before. And they did make a page.
Okay, that's the other thing. If they do anything, then they're probably not a bot. Bots, in my experience, sign up and don't. They what bots want is the email is for you to send an email to that email address.
Okay.
And we talked about this before. The reason why it has to do with spam lists and email provider lists and stuff. Yeah. So if they do anything, they're also not a bot, in my experience.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. This is with better analytics. I'd be able to tell you like, yeah. Okay. So I want to be able to say like, are these people real? What percentage of them are converting to paying customers? And then what percentage of people coming from the ads? How many people from the ads for what amount of money are converting to actual real users, and they are actual real people? Okay. Yeah, this feels tangible. Feels good. Yeah, working with real stuff. I have two more things I want to talk about. The first is my consulting project is almost done. I keep meaning to ask them if I can talk about who they are. And I don't know if I can. I'm going to text them today. I'll probably talk about it next time. But that took, unsurprisingly, longer than I thought it would. I think I tend to be very optimistic with this sort of thing. 26 hours and 37 minutes so far. If we take $5,000 divided by, we'll call it 28 hours, 178 an hour is great.
Not bad at all.
I'll do that all day.
My guess is you have 50% left based on what you told me with some back and forth and stuff.
I logically agree with you, and also that feels absurd right now. It feels like, oh yeah, just one more bomb and it's done. But I've been doing that this whole project, right? Like stuff just takes way long. I think I tend to be extremely optimistic in like how long things are going to take me.
By 50%, I mean you have to do 50% more on top of what you've already done, not that you have 100% more to do, if that makes sense.
Yes. Which would be, what's
like $100, more than $100 an hour still. So
yeah, I'll take that.
That's great.
Yeah, great. It's also been very clarifying of like, especially, man, there was a day when just, it felt like 10 things were happening at once. One of which is the thing I'm about to talk about, where like, I was jamming on work for the Ali Abdaal project. Oh my gosh, I just said the name. Okay,
we'll blur that too. Two blurs. Two beeps.
What am I doing?
I'm writing it down.
Thank you. There's a second thing we need to blur out for this episode.
We have to blur it in the video too, because I can read your lips. So we'll blur the video and beep the audio.
I think I'll just cut it out, I think.
All right.
Oh my gosh. What am I doing? So never put me on a witness stand. Never. I can't ever commit a crime. I'll just say that I did it. Oh man.
I think it's better if you don't cut it out. It's pretty hilarious. I mean,
I agree.
Beep it, but don't cut this part.
I'll see if I can talk about it, and if I can talk about it, then I won't bleep that part out.
Okay.
And then it'll just be really funny. Okay. Anyway, there was a day where I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I was bouncing forth between this consulting project and seeing that like Google Ads were going crazy. And then also having a call with someone about clips.marketing, which is the other thing I want to talk about, where they were like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest project ever. And I was like, oh, actually, it kind of is. It just felt like everything was happening all at the same time. And I like being in that state of a whole bunch of things happening. And I think partially that came as a result of just saying yes to more things. And when this opportunity came along to do this project, being like, well, I can sort of rationalize that that my time would be in the long term better invested in doing more SaaS stuff, but doing this has been kind of more motivating for SaaS stuff, and I've still been able to, with the exception of today and yesterday, I've still been able to put in work on FileInbox consistently every day, and to have that balance of like, okay, this part of my day is spent on FileInbox, which is more of a long-term thing. And then the second part of my day, I'm effectively making $1,000 doing, this stuff for the consulting project. So, the work that I'm doing for FileInbox should be worth about $1,000. I should be doing the work that's at least that high value. It's fun to be able to have that sort of thing to contrast on and to have different sorts of payoffs for how I'm spending my time. I like it.
Yeah, I agree, and that's exactly how I felt 6 years ago when I quit my job, and that's less how I feel now, which is why I'm getting another job. This brings up something I wanted to talk about, but since our ADHD talk with Jesse Anderson, I don't think I have ADHD, by the way, but I definitely recognize tendencies of certain things, and it's very interesting to listen to those tendencies, like listen to him on his podcast talk about them and then recognize them in my own life. One of the things, you can switch between this sort of like wanting to do a million different things, or like right now, like I know I'm really good under other people's deadlines. Like that's something I know from time pressure, and I feel like that's okay right now, and that's why I think a job is great for me right now. Who knows about 5 years from now, but I think for the last 6 months I've been craving other people's deadlines, which you have tried to give me. Thank you very much. It hasn't worked very well.
I'm not mean enough. I
guess
I gotta berate you more on co-working.
Yeah. It has been very good for you to gently poke at me, but I think if I have other people's deadlines right now, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, good. That's the game of life. You work with what you got and you adapt to where you are right now. And I've also been thinking a lot about working. Like there have been days where working at Google feels like absolutely the right thing to do.
I'll let you know in 6 months how it is. Like one of my worries is that I get there in like 2 weeks, and 3 days from now I'm like, oh, what did I do? That's a worry, but we'll see.
They can't like force you to work there if you don't want to work there. So
right. Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Cool. Last thing I would like to talk about is clips.marketing, especially in light of this new marketing stuff I've been doing. It feels like I have a lot more ideas for how I would grow this as a product. My current plan is, and the one that just like sprang into mind when I was thinking about this the other day, having a call with someone who like wanted to use it right then. The thing I did with FileInbox is have immediate value on a page that requires no signups. You go to the page with the intent to send a file, and you can send a file right there. And it's like you click on the ad, and it says drag into the file here, you drag into the file there, and then there's a big green button that says copy this link. And I could even do something clever of like you don't even need to click to copy the link. It automatically clicks. It's the most seamless possible delivery value you could possibly have. And then you go to the link and download the file. And I was thinking about what that might look like for clips.marketing. And I think what that would look like is you Google something really high intent to want to clip a video, and my ad pops up. Eventually SEO would be great, but that's a longer term strategy. The ad pops up that says, clip a video with a transcript or whatever you Googled. You click on that, and you have a big video editor page that says, upload the video here or paste in the link. And then you do that, and then immediately you're in a very simplified clipping interface, like something as simple as, I don't know if you've used it in QuickTime, there's a trim function. You can just trim on both sides. You could do that, or you can highlight the transcript. That'll start happening automatically, or you can enter time codes if you want to do that, but that would be more advanced. And then you say, make a clip, and then it makes a clip, and then it just renders seamlessly in the background in multiple different formats, and it tells you the formats based on where you might want to post the clip. So it would say like, download this clip for Twitter, download this clip for TikTok, and that's in portrait, download it for YouTube in the original format, and you click those and you get it. And then that clip has a bumper on the end of it that's an advertisement for clips.marketing. And there's a watermark on it that says this clip was made by clips.marketing. And then I have sprinkled into that interface a whole bunch of different upsells of like, hey, would you like to add your logo to this clip? Would you like to add custom branding? Would you like to automatically queue up these clips so that they get published on your Twitter channel or your LinkedIn or whatever else, so that you don't have to do any work? Would you like to have a custom intro and outro? Would you like to remove the clips.marketing branding? I bet you would if you're doing this professionally. Yep. But otherwise, I just let people make clips and just advertise my product. with the clips that they made. And then there was this segment of people who were talking to me about clips.marketing that sort of confused me at first, that I feel like I know what I would do with now, which is like people who are clipping other people's videos, who just like are big fans of Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or something, and they heard a really interesting tidbit of a clip. I was doing this for a while also. Sam Harris, and you make the clip yourself based on their episode, and then you publish it on your own social media. And I could be using those people to advertise for clips.marketing. That then anyone who's trying to make a clip like that, the clips that they're seeing all have, made by clips.marketing at the bottom. And that's my strategy that right now seems like it would be so easy and very straightforward, and I'd be able to convert customers in the same way that I'm doing for the Google Ads for file sending.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Several thoughts. One is clips.marketing had some high intent people at the beginning who seemed to want to pay a lot, and then you just sort of didn't do anything.
And then I forgot
that, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So if you want to pick it back up, that's great. Don't let it get in the way of what you have with FileInbox. I think so that's one caution I would have. The other thing is you can actually test Google Ads. So if you are expecting it to perform like this file uploads, downloads ad you had, and you hang on to that for months and months, you might be disappointed when it actually happens. You could direct people right now with an ad to the clips.marketing homepage, and maybe they're disappointed when they actually hit the homepage based on the content of the ad or something, but at least you have numbers. You have numbers for cost per click and how many, So I guess that's what I would do, is make an ad way sooner than you expect, like today.
That's a great idea. Because on clips.marketing, I'm collecting email addresses, and then I have a little sequence not a sequence. I have one email that I send someone after they sign up.
Right.
It's like, hey, what do you need this for? And I have a list of like 20 or 30 people that wanted to use it. And of the people I talked to, I floated the number $100 a month, and everyone was like, oh yeah, of course.
I know. Yeah. You said that a long time ago, and I was like, oh,
why did I stop working on that? Why didn't I do what was I
don't know.
Did I think I went on a trip or something and forgot about it. Yeah. I don't remember.
That's the problem with doing so many things at once. Yeah.
I gotta focus, dude. So okay, I continue to be excited about this. Go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say is, if you want to do this low cost free thing, I would make sure to do the math first, because people start uploading 2-hour 4K clips.
Yes.
You're going to get drowned in costs real fast.
Yes. I would like to know back of the envelope, what's the bare minimum that my conversion rate needs to be able to be breaking even on server costs. Okay.
So I guess before you think of a free thing, I would send some traffic to it. Make an ad today, whatever. Yeah. Just watch it for a week, and then talk to those 20, 30 people and see if they're still interested. That's what I would do first.
Okay, cool. And then I agree that I don't want to let this be distracting me from what I've got going with FileInbox, and finding out that I have so much more bandwidth to do work by doing this consulting project, and working on FileInbox at the same time that I'm doing the consulting project, and making a full app in about a week that was very complicated, involved a lot of API calls and lots of stuff going on. While I'm still pushing FileInbox forward and still doing the development and the marketing and everything else, I realized I could just keep working the same amount, but instead of working on the consulting project, I just work on clips.marketing, and then I could be doing both. And so I think as soon as this consulting project's done, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah. Did I want to talk about anything else? No, that's all I got.
That's all I got too, unless you want to talk about my sewer.
Yeah, let's talk about your sewer. What?
I just want to vent to people, because so this is the dangers of home ownership. I've talked about my sewer line before, how sometimes randomly it backs up, and I had someone out to camera it the other day, and I got a quote for $20,000 to fix my sewer line. I do not think it needs $20,000 worth of work based on the camera results, but so that's why you should keep a condo and not have a house. I'm also going to do a lot of YouTubing and Googling, and I think I can. There's 3 things I can try myself before I spend $20,000. So
cool.
That's what I'm gonna do.
You become a sewer expert.
That's right.
For $20,000, that would buy a lot of equipment to have a new hobby of fixing sewers.
Exactly. And to be fair, like, it wasn't a crazy quote in terms of the workout. Like, they would have to do what she wanted to do. You'd have to dig up the whole yard and tear apart half my basement. So I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to fix it without doing that.
What's the problem? The sewer's not sewering?
Yeah, so it's backing up, and so there are parts of the sewer which are a little flat, and you want it to be graded the whole way so that stuff can flow, right?
Yes.
And they're getting a little flat outside. It's because the ground is sort of settling like it does, and inside, it is unclear what's exactly going on. And so, like, her fix was just to replace everything, basically inside, like in the basement anyway. And but like the outside fix, as she was cameraing it, she was explaining like it might be a problem in 10 or 15 years. And I'm like, so why would I fix it now? Like, that's not the problem. It's inside that's the problem. And inside there are fixes I can do before replacing the whole thing. I don't 100% know what those fixes are, but that's what YouTube is for. And so yeah, I just wanted to rant about homeownership for a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I hope you don't end up spending $20,000, and I hope you develop some new skills and maybe buy some new cool tools to help you fix this. And then everyone on your block, if they have the same problem, you can be like, oh, I've got the whatchamajig that fixes it from the inside. Cool.
Now that's all I got.
All right, that's all I got too.
See you next time.